Hello, everyone, and welcome back to BB True Crime. I'm Beth, that's Becky.
It is indeedy.
We are on episode 16 now.
No, we're not.
We are.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
They're flying by?
Oh, yeah. They are, yeah. And obviously, you Patreon folks will be listening to this first.
Lucky guys. Lucky guys.
Well, I'm very personally excited for this episode.
Are you?
I really am.
She was like, can we do an episode? And she was like, it's not really a question, but also consent. And I was like, we'll do an episode.
Well, consent is important.
Consent is important. And here we are with an episode that she is so excited about and yet will tell me nothing of until we got in the recording session. So
I was trying to hold it in so bad.
So yeah, I'm as curious as to what today is as you guys are.
Well, let's just say my mum also knows about this case.
Oh God Almighty, that's not a good sign.
I don't think.
Sorry, Janet.
I don't think she introduced me to it, but we're both equally as invested in the case. So this case is also one of the first for our podcast, and so it's kind of a spoiler alert for how the case goes, but it's basically about wrongful imprisonment.
Oh, This is your first.
This is a first. Yeah. And this is the case that got me into true crime.
Of course it is.
Obviously, my mum's was the Columbine school shooting, which we will cover with my mum at some point. And this was mine.
I don't think I have a case. Do I have a case?
I think maybe the Richard Ramirez.
Or the
Cecil Hotel, because that's still true crime.
I think we saw the Cecil Hotel first though.
We did, yeah.
So I probably would have been, but I liked it, but I wasn't like, oh my god, I need to know more about this until I got
to
the Ramirez
murder,
case.
Was it?
Yeah, it was the missing case, but I think that was kind of like the first, like, oh, this is cool, cool, and then it was very sorry to, there's absolutely no entertainment in the death of people, but don't look at that face. But Richard Ramirez was the one where I was like, I need to know more. Yeah. So yeah.
So I've been
wrongful imprisonment.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this case since we first started it. Didn't really have any plan of when to slot it in.
Not that she told me any of this, of course.
No.
But no,
it's fine. Also,
apologies if you hear any munching or crunching. We are snacking on salted popcorn and Maryland chocolate chip cookies today. So,
and as we usually have, and what you should have already, given we're 3 minutes in, is a cup of tea.
Absolutely, you should have a cup of tea in your hand.
Yeah.
If not,
get one now.
Get one.
Pause it.
Make a cup of tea. We'll wait. But also, you need tea. So, sort yourself out, people.
So, let's do it.
Let's get into it.
I'm so excited.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this is the case. It's called... There's 2 names for it.
Oh, there's names for it. Jesus.
Yeah, the whole case as a whole.
Okay.
So some people call it the Robin Hood Hill murders.
Oh, yep.
And some other people call it the Westboro 3.
I've heard of the Robin Hood Hill murders. I've heard that one. You've probably heard me say the Robin Hood Hill murders. Yeah. So wrongful imprisonment of 3 people. Oh, 3 of them?
3.
It was me thinking it was only going to be 1.
They are not able to get any proper justice.
So are they still in prison?
No, they're out of prison.
Oh, they're out of prison now,
yeah.
But there's been no kind of recompense for their imprisonment. It's just the police being like, oops, my bad, you can go.
They're not even that.
Oh.
I don't think they've ever got an apology.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, we imprisoned you for God knows how many years, but you can go now.
It was quite a while, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So, let's get into, first of all, how they ended up in prison.
Okay.
But this case, let me tell you, while we're going through it, and by the end, you're going to be like, what the fuck was this?
Do you know what? I've just got to say there's a lot of cases where at the end of it I'm just like, what the fuck was that?
It's not even like the case is... The case, you know, it is what it is. But police, you know, they have the habit of, in these, especially the unsolved ones, of mishandling shit and doing a terrible job.
Just being like incompetence in general.
That is just them as a whole, times 10 in this.
Love it. I love that for us. And for them, whoever they may be. It's
very much a judging a book by its cover in terms of the 3 that end up in jail.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, all crime is solved by picking the easiest and the most obvious suspect.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
All
Whether
right.
or not they're guilty.
So give me the nitty-gritties. Come on now.
So.
Stop teasing me.
Starts.
Okay.
May 5th. 1993.
3 years before I was born.
5 before me.
I feel old.
It's okay. It's okay. We suffer together.
We do suffer together.
So, the 3 victims are children.
Oh,
yeah.
Yay.
I thought I'd just ease you in that one.
Thank
just
you.
Get that out of the way.
Second factoid, just hit me with it. 2 kiddies.
It was also
3 kiddies.
3 kids that died.
Oh, God.
3 people ended up in prison. Don't ask why there's a correlation there. Don't know.
Alright.
So they were all 8.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. I do have some information on the boys, but obviously we'll get there and get there.
Hey. You are the age of the 3 boys combined. There you go.
My brain just had to do some maths, and I was not happy with that. Thank you. Let's avoid maths completely.
I love giving you little maths facts, and Beth's just like, my brain hurts.
Babe, this is a true crime podcast. No one came here for maths, alright? No one.
I do apologise to everybody for that absolutely sickening moment.
The 3 8-year-old boys that unfortunately died were called Steve Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers.
Okay.
So they first...
Chris, Mike, and Steve.
Yes.
Okay.
So on May 5th, 1993, they were reported missing.
Lovely.
In West Memphis, Arkansas. Did I say that right?
Arkansas.
Okay, I'm going to say West Memphis anyway, so... Yeah, anyway.
It's fine. We don't hold you accountable for your mispronunciations. It's alright.
There's many of them. So
you're gay. It's fine.
You're all used to that by now, so it's fine.
You, when you do Japanese and
Lord,
Chinese cases, and it's just like...
Takes me like 5 minutes to try and consider pronouncing the name.
You just pause and stare at it, like, scared, like, ah!
So, the first report to the police was made by Christopher's adoptive father, John Mark Byers, around 7 p.m. On May 5th. The boys were allegedly last seen together by 3 neighbours, and apparently they were seen last playing together around 6:30. So somewhere in between that half-hour period, they vanish.
Half an hour later. So the father calls in a missing persons report?
Yeah, the adoptive father calls in a missing persons.
Jeez.
For his son, obviously he didn't know that the other 2 were also missing.
Yeah.
So, police this is just straight away at the beginning where the police are just, it's like, why are you here?
Beth just looks so done. She's just said the word police and she's just like, ugh.
Like, when I first, because there's a few documentaries, and they've made a few movies of this case.
I love that.
And I binged them all as soon as I heard the case. And they're really good, so I would recommend those. But it's so stupid. There's so many plot holes in the case, so many loose ends. You know, it's not very fair on the 3 that ended up in jail. Especially they never got any kind of, like, justice for being in jail. And it's just like...
Effectively ruined their lives.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. And they hadn't even done anything. It was just wild. So, when the police find out they're missing, on the first night, May 5th, they're like, do we bother really searching for them?
Incredible.
No, not really.
Well, the Americans have this weird policy that it has to be like 24 hours before they'll search for anybody.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, 24... In England, after 24 hours, nobody thinks anybody's going to be found alive.
I know, exactly. The first 24 hours are the most important, so... I can't say that they would have been found alive at this point, but you would think they'd at least do... Like, I want to point out, it was a small town. Everyone knew everyone.
Oh, okay.
One of those places.
Not to mention, Arkansas's a rural.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so...
Yeah. So if you're an outsider... or just a bit different.
And everybody is going to know you.
Outcasted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically the issue with these three guys.
It's like walking into the middle of a small community town painted in blue. I mean, you're a little bit obvious.
So the police were like, it's fine. They'll be good. You know?
He's 8. Where's he supposed to have gone?
All 3 of them are 8. There's 3 missing children. That's not even 1.
Have they all been reported missing by now?
Well, because the kid was last seen playing with those kids, I'd imagine that they've been like, oh shit, it's 3 kids that are missing, not 1.
Bold of you to assume that they even bothered.
Well, yeah. So, since the police were a bit shit, the people in the town were like, okay, we'll
do it ourselves then.
We'll just do your fucking job, don't worry. So friends and neighbours conducted, it wasn't like a massive search, but they did conduct a search.
Look-see-loo.
Yeah. And they even ended up searching the location where the bodies would later be found.
That's heavy.
Before they were there.
That's heavy.
Yeah. Which is a shame. So, soon after, the police finally were like, okay, we should probably do a search now. So they did.
Nice. I like that.
I know.
I like that. Yeah. Right after civilians have done your job for you, do you go and do a search?
The next day.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was around 8 a.m.
So they'd gone out for a drink, woken up the next morning and decided to do their job.
Probably should do that. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should look on that, 3 missing boys in a small town.
Dear sweet Mary Mother of God.
So, the searchers looked all over West Memphis. But primarily focused on the area called Robin Hood Hills.
Okay. Oh, so I'm guessing that was the area near the community or in the community.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was where the boys were last seen.
Okay.
So, despite a very thorough search for the boys, especially in that region.
12 hours later.
Yes. They were not found. There was no sign of them whatsoever.
Okay.
They had just vanished.
Because obviously, that makes sense. 3 boys clearly just disappear.
Yeah. Unfortunately, by this point, there is no exact time that they would have been killed, but I do believe from everything that I've read and researched and everything...
At this point, they're already dead.
100%, yeah.
Right.
I reckon it was pretty... I wouldn't say for definite in that first half hour of them missing, but definitely that night, May 5th, 100% they died. All 3.
That's heavy, man.
Yeah.
That's heavy. Ugh.
So, around May 6th, still, they've just done a search, found nothing. And that was at 8 a.m. So around 1:45.
In the afternoon?
In the afternoon,
yeah.
A juvenile parole police officer, Steve Jones, spotted a boy's black shoe floating in a muddy creek.
Oh, that's not ominous at all.
Yeah. In the Robin Hood.
Why is it always the junior patrol officers, the poor boys?
Yeah.
Like, talk about the trauma. They're literally like the 18-year-old, 19-year-old recruits.
Yeah.
Like, talk about the trauma.
I mean, luckily he spotted it though, because God knows how long they'd bloody be in there.
That's true.
If he didn't see it. So.
Oh God. Thank God he saw that traumatic floating shoe.
Yeah, so they were like, right, we should probably drain the canal just in case.
Obviously.
So they drained it.
Uh-huh.
And the search of the ditch and the canal revealed the bodies of the 3 boys.
Yeah.
In, obviously, Robin Hood Hills.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you don't like things happening to children, just skip a little bit, because I'm just going to go into detail of what they found there.
Can I finish my coffee first before you go to graphic details?
Choo choo swallow.
You.
I'm going in, right. So,
I'm just saying, when they said the bodies would later be found, the community searched it, yeah, If they had to drain the canal to find the bodies,
Yeah.
how do we know the bodies weren't already in the canal and it was just the shoe that came loose later on in the day?
I mean, it could have been, yeah.
Because,
But you would have thought, if they're searching that area thoroughly, surely they would have had people go in the canal.
But they're civilians.
No, this was the police at this point.
They don't tend to go into large bodies of water.
Yeah, but if you look at, like, missing kid cases...
They're normally in the canals.
Well, yeah, but when they're doing a massive police search, they'll have divers and everything. But I guess, it's a
rural
small
community.
Town. Yeah.
They probably only had, like, a sheriff, a couple of deputies, and some patrol officers.
True.
Like...
They just bloody poke the water with a stick. Do something.
I mean...
It's stupid.
It just occurred to me that maybe they were already there and they just...
They could have
didn't
been,
know.
and to be fair, we won't know for definite.
No.
So...
Imagine being that person, though.
I'd rather not. Yeah.
That got depressing for a second.
Let's take a moment for Steve. He's seen some things.
Steve. This is the first boy, isn't it?
No. Steve was the one that found him.
But wasn't there a Stephen that was boy as well?
Yes. Steve Branch.
Look at my memory.
I know, that was pretty good, yeah.
Straight in there.
Yeah, straight.
Steve, Mike and Chris.
Let me talk about what happened to the kids.
I'm trying to delay for these poor people.
I know. Right, skip ahead now. Not before. Right, so they had been completely stripped naked, obviously.
Love that. Great place to start.
I love that for them. And they were all 3 8-year-old boys were also hog-tied.
Okay.
With their own shoelaces.
Okay, imaginative.
Yeah. Their right ankles were tied to their right wrists behind their back.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the same with the left. The clothing was found in the creek, not in the canal.
Okay.
Some of it was twisted around sticks that had been put into the mud along the sides of the canal.
Okay.
The clothing was mostly inside out. 2 pairs of the boys' underwear were never recovered.
That's alarming.
1 pair was. It was Christopher's. Christopher had lacerations to various parts of his body.
Great.
And mutilation of his scrotum and penis.
Awesome.
Yeah. The autopsies by the forensic pathologist at the time who was looking into it indicated that Byers, Christopher, died of multiple injuries, while the other 2 boys died of multiple injuries with drowning. So pretty much they drowned, probably in the canal.
But Christopher was definitely dead before he went in the canal.
It looks like, yeah. So that was the main thing of how they were found.
Okay.
Right, so that part, you're safe now, relatively.
Just so everybody knows, this is now a green zone.
Wow.
Relatively.
We'll put it in like mid-yellow.
Yes.
So the police were like, oh my god, they've definitely been raped. So random.
Obviously.
Yeah, it really was random.
I mean, the involvement of the genitalia on Chris...
Yeah, there was no
is
indication.
A little bit sus.
Yeah.
But the other 2, there was no kind of indication.
There was nothing. Yeah, the police just, in this case, they'd be wild, and I swear to God, most of the time they're probably just drunk. So.
I mean, it's a small town.
Yeah.
If the sheriff's drunk, who's going to pick up the sheriff?
Exactly.
The other sheriff?
Probably that poor guy that found the bodies.
Stephen's going to jump in there. Stephen, take over this town.
God.
You should be sheriff.
Later expert testimony disputed that really random claim, obviously.
You know, when the expert says in and says, now that's a little bit of a leap, sir.
No, you are wrong. Trace amounts of sperm DNA were found on a pair of pants recovered from the scene, the one that was found.
Okay.
But nothing was found on the boys.
Okay.
Just on 1 pair of the pants. So
okay.
Sound like someone might have done a quick jacket and run.
Come talk.
Yeah.
Come talk.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Disturbing. I'm so sorry for all of you.
Yeah. We got to say what we're really thinking.
Well, we have. If we can't be honest, we may as well not do this.
Yeah. So actually, in terms of Christopher's wounds, the prosecution experts and pretty much everyone involved, except for like the police and the community, actually found. So the prosecution tried to say, with the police in their neighborhood and everything, that the knife wounds on Christopher were results from a knife attack, and that he had purposely tried to be castrated by the murderer. However,
I'm sorry, what?
I know. The prosecutors in this case are just as wild, right? However, that was not the case. None of that happened to Christopher.
How does one exactly aim about getting a purposeful castration by an 8-year-old boy?
It wasn't even a successful one. His sting was still on there.
His sting was still... His foreskin, honey. His foreskin
was... his entire penis was just still there.
His entire penis.
His entire penis.
His entire penis.
Right, now. Right. So the defense, and then obviously people nowadays, are like, actually, if you look at them, they're most likely done post-mortem from animals.
Oh, right, okay.
Stop being dumb.
Right, okay.
Stop it. Obviously the police are just wild, so they believe that the boys were assaulted and killed at the location.
Don't believe that for a second.
Never really the way it happens, is it?
I'm sorry, excuse me, but how are you supposed to control 3 8-year-old boys?
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
And kill them all at the one location where you're gonna have
without leaving behind any evidence or any witnesses.
Especially because you remember before the police did their search the night before, the people had done their search.
The neighbours were looking.
Nothing was there. So
when and where were they supposed to have done this?
Yeah, exactly. So no. Obviously that was proved to be
bullshit.
Unlikely. Yeah. Christopher was the only victim with drugs in his system. However, it wasn't anything like malicious. He was taking Ritalin as part of a treatment for ADHD.
Same, bro.
Except she's just not on meds.
I am unmedicated, biatch. That explains so much about my life.
So, I'm going to go into the 3 boys a little bit.
Okay.
Tell you about them. Because, they deserve to be heard.
We like this.
Yeah.
We like this.
So, Steve Edward Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore, they were all 2nd graders at Weaver Elementary School. Each of them had achieved the rank of Wolf in the local Club Scout pack.
That's adorable.
And they were best friends.
That's adorable.
I know.
Also really sad that all 3 of them were murdered, but at the same time, if one of them had been left alive...
That would have been really sad.
And would have had just his 2 best friends murdered when he...
Good.
Are we good? Oh, praise Jesus, the phone just did a thing. Then that would be a deep trauma moment and a lifetime of therapy for that boy.
Yeah,
and while I am in no way condoning the death, I'm saying maybe it was slightly merciful for the trauma that boy would have gone through.
Or at least to be able to testify about who it actually was, though.
Move on.
Yeah.
Move on.
So, let's start with Steve.
Steve
Branch was the son of Stephen and Pamela Branch, who did divorce when he was an infant. His mother was awarded custody, and later married a man called Terry Hobbs. Branch, so Steve was just 8, obviously. He was 4'2" tall.
Aww.
Weighed just 65 pounds. Don't know how much that is in...
I don't know how much that is in English.
I did kilograms, so I don't know. And had blonde hair. He was last seen wearing blue jeans and a white t-shirt, and he had
very all-American.
Very, yeah. And he was riding a black and red bicycle.
Love it.
He was an honor student. He lived, like I said, with his mum, Pamela, his stepfather, Terry, and he had a 4-year-old half-sister called Amanda. Steve Edward Branch is buried in the Mount Zion Cemetery in Steele, Missouri.
Aww.
Christopher.
Rip Stephen.
Rip Steve. Yeah. So Christopher.
Okay.
was born to Melissa Defer and Ricky Murray. His parents divorced also when he was young. Around
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah. Afterward, his mum remarried to a man called John Byers, who adopted the boy.
Oh, cute. We like that.
Yeah. Byers was a 4 foot tall and weighed 52 pounds, and he had light brown hair. He was last seen wearing blue jeans, dark shorts, and a wide long sleeve shirt. He lived with his mum, adoptive father, and a stepbrother called Sean, who was 13. According to his mum, Christopher was a typical 8-year-old. He still believed in the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus.
I believed in the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus for quite a while.
So did I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was probably 12. And before that, I had gone on Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
But my mum had said that it was because of all the kids in the world. Recently, Santa had been asking mums who had the time to pick up some presents for the other family members, just to help and light the load. And I was like, of course, that makes total sense.
You don't question things as a kid.
And so, thus, I proudly declared myself Santa's helper's helper.
Oh, Lord.
Because Mum was Santa's helper and I was helping the helper.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I was very proud of my job, all 8 years old, of me running around picking presents for my family.
Well, at least you were still alive at 8. Rip. That would be a bit awkward doing this podcast, actually. Now.
Thank you.
So, yeah, anyway.
Thank you.
Moving on. We had such a tangent there, honestly. But that's what you guys sign up for.
Bruh,
so...
if you can't go on a tangent about Santa Claus and just before summer, what kind of human being are you?
I say that while I'm wearing a Christmas jumper.
She is, but it's also the softest jumper and the baggiest jumper that she has.
It is,
so
yeah, and I'm cold.
She just randomly throws it on in the middle of June.
Don't question it.
You're a lizard.
I know.
Let's move on.
So, Christopher is buried in Forest Hill Cemetery, east in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh my god, they're not even buried together?
The thing is, the third child is also not buried in any of those locations, so I'm just like, why are they all buried separately? Like, they're best friends. Just put them together, man. Have, like, a little memorial at the same place where they're at, like...
But surely if we were all in a small town, the small town would have one small town graveyard.
Yeah, I know, you'd think, yeah.
Unless they were buried in the counties of Missouri that they were born in.
Yeah.
Which might make sense, because, you know, people don't always live in the same small town that they grew up in.
Well, especially if this happens there, I can see why they'd want it buried. Yeah. And the last child is Michael Moore. He was the son of Todd and Dana Moore. He was 4'2", weighed 55 pounds, and had brown hair.
Did his parents divorce?
No, they did not.
Oh, praise Jesus, Mike was the only one.
Yep,
lucky boy.
He was last seen wearing blue pants, a blue Boy Scouts of America shirt, and an orange and blue Boy Scout hat, and riding a light green bicycle.
That's a lot of colour going on there, my guy.
Michael enjoyed wearing his scout uniform even when he wasn't at scout meetings.
Bro, that was me in the RAF,
That's
man.
So wholesome. He was considered the leader of the 3. He lived with his parents and his 9-year-old sister Dawn.
Aww.
James is buried in Crittenden Memorial Park Cemetery in Marion, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
God damn it, I thought I was going to say it again. It's right. I'm saying it the way it looks, okay? Fuck you all.
Say it with me now. Arkansas.
No, we are moving on.
Arkansas.
No.
Arkansas.
So,
say it.
We're almost at the suspects, okay? So,
God almighty.
In 1994...
we'll get her to say it, guys.
No. A memorial for the 3 was erected, and it's located in the playground of the elementary school they all went in together.
That's adorable.
Yeah, in West Memphis.
I love that.
All 3, obviously, like I said, were second graders at that school at the time.
Yeah.
And it's still there. So, let's get into the suspects with quotation marks. So, we're just going to get straight into it. At the time of their arrests, so obviously, like I said, 3 people end up going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
None of them had anything to do with the crime. And they were all young teenagers.
How does that work?
I want to say as well, they were all goths
in
a small town. and they were really hated just because they were outsiders and sort of outcasts. So the town were like, obviously it's them.
If anybody is going to murder 3 8-year-old boys, clearly it's the guys who dye their hair black and wear leather.
Yeah, literally, that was pretty much just the reason.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we didn't grow up in that town.
I know, God help us all, because I had that emo phase.
Gay emo ass and me with my... Not even sure what the fuck was going on with me and my ass, but it wasn't normal. We would have been thrown into jail for murdering 2 young girls we didn't even know. That would have been our fate.
Yeah,
we would have been prison buddies.
Yeah.
We would have been, but we would have gotten prison tattoos together though, so that's fun.
True. That's true. Let's not go to jail. Okay, so the 3 guys who go to jail. So they were Jesse Misskelley, Jr.
Uh-huh.
Gotta add that in. Who was 17 at the time.
Love it.
Jason Baldwin, who was 16 at the time.
Okay.
And Damien Eccles, who is the central one of the 3.
So he's the leader of that pack.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
And he was 18, so he was the oldest.
So we had an 18, a 17, and a 16.
16, yeah.
Okay.
So, Jason and Damien, and I'd just like to say also, a little side note, obviously they have a lot of support since they've been out of prison. Johnny Depp is actually really good friends with Damien Eccles.
Yes, Johnny Depp!
Yeah. And it's helped him out a lot. So
we love Johnny Depp.
We do.
We absolutely stand.
Yeah. So Baldwin and Eccles, they had been previously arrested, but it was only for really small shit. And you know, if you're in a small town, like,
as soon as you're on a radar,
come on.
Yeah.
And so apparently it was for things like vandalism or like small shoplifting things. It's a small town. You don't got much to do.
Stealing a can of beer on a dare and spray painting your initials on the wall, kind of thing.
Quite literally.
Quite literally.
Miss Kelly had a representative.
God
help me tonight, Lord.
Reputation.
Reputation.
There we go.
For his temper, apparently.
Okay.
And for engaging in fistfights with other teenagers at the school.
Okay, well, they're fistfights, not murder or kidnapping.
Yeah.
And
it's
name me
his own age as well.
And name me people who don't get into scraps at school.
Yeah, I know, right.
Even in my little goody two shoes Christian school, there was still scraps going on.
Yeah. So Miss Kelly and Eccles dropped out of high school. However, Baldwin earned high grades and demonstrated a talent for drawing and sketching.
Is that the one that gets along with Johnny Depp?
No, that's Damien Eccles.
Oh, that's Damien.
Okay. Baldwin, he was actually encouraged by one of his teachers to study graphic design in college. Not that he would ever get to go.
That's depressing.
Yeah. Eccles and Baldwin were close friends, and the 3 of them all bonded over their similar tastes in like music and books.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So just 3 guys who got along well. Yeah.
People. Yeah. So Damien's family were poor.
Okay.
And received frequent visits from social workers.
Love that for him.
Memories. He really attended school. Like I said, he dropped out of high school. He did spend, before the murders, several months in a mental institution.
Mm-hmm.
And afterward, he got full disability status from Social Security.
Okay.
During his trial,
this was thrown in his face.
No, a doctor for his defense.
Oh.
Yeah. Testified that Eccles suffered from, and this is the quote, serious mental illness categorized by grandiose and persecutory delusions, auditory and visual hallucinations, disordered thought processes, substantial lack of insight, and chronic incapacitating mood swings. So this is a little bit of a spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
Damien, because he was the oldest and said to apparently be the leader of the 3, was given the death penalty.
Wow.
At 18.
That big old pause just says everything you need to know, really, doesn't it?
And that boy did nothing wrong. There was no evidence against him whatsoever.
I'm speechless.
I know.
I'm actually.
It gets worse, believe me, because it's so stupid, this case. So at his death penalty sentence hearing, his psychologist reported, and again, his psychologist was obviously one of the people of the town who hated him and thought he was weird. So take this with like a literal pinch of salt.
Honey, I'm going to take with a lump of rock salt.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a whole fucking rock lamp with me on this.
His psychologist reported that months before the murders, Eccles had claimed that he had obtained superpowers by drinking human blood. Granted, that was not a sentence I thought I'd say today, but you never know where the day takes you, so...
So, because he's goth.
Yeah.
And he's mentally unstable.
Yeah.
He's clearly vampiric.
It's not even mentally unstable.
He suffers from mental illness.
Yeah, it was classed as a disability. It got completely approved as it.
And yet, clearly, he's a vampire in hiding with a kink for 8-year-old boys.
Apparently, yeah. So, early in the investigation, the police and sort of people involved in it, they already regarded 2 of the teenagers as suspects. And that was before anyone else or any evidence or anything had been taken into account. Wow. Apparently,
I love profiling.
I know.
I love it.
This was, so apparently there was this one incident,
there was this one
incident when the bodies had only just been pulled out of the canal, when one of the police were like, oh, I bet it's that Damien kid. And they were like, let's pin it on that one.
Plot twist, it was the police officers.
We do get an answer in the end as to who it was, but...
I can't wait for that answer.
It's so stupid. Chris Morgan and Brian Holland, they were 2 other teenagers that were also briefly considered. They both had drug offence histories.
Why are these guys so fixated on teenage boys?
I know, they really did.
Are they aware that there's a whole other population of this town out there that was just as capable of killing these kids?
No, they really had it in for these teenage
than
boys.
The class of what was it, Westview Elementary School and High School. Explain that to
Memphis,
me.
Yeah.
West Memphis High School.
Yeah. These two boys seem more suspicious than the 3 that got jailed.
How?
But they never took this, right? So these 2, the drug offence history.
Okay.
And around the time of the murder, had just abruptly left the area. I also want to comment, these 2 boys also did not kill the children.
Oh, great, but, okay. 2 more innocent people.
Yeah. But they were a lot more dodgy than 3. So it would have made more sense for them to be in prison.
No. I mean, bold of you to assume there's any logic going on here.
This town has just 0 IQ in its police. So. Christ. Yeah, so the 2 boys as well, they were arrested in Oceanside on May 17th. Morgan and Holland both took polygraph tests, and the charts indicated deception. On involvement in the murders, but honestly, who trusts polygraph tests at all?
Who does?
Anyway, so
the thing is that there was an interesting study done about how the question that somebody asks on polygraph, if it links back to a memory that the interviewee has, where they did do something wrong. That very small marginal flashback to that linked memory will trigger it to say deception, even if they were clearly over in, I don't know, Canada when the murders happened.
Yeah.
If they thought about maybe like an argument that they'd had with the victim 3 years prior and they were like, oh shit, I regret that. That trips as deception.
The thing is, a lot of it is based on like heart rate and stuff.
Yeah. So
if you're just anxious,
it trips.
It trips it.
If you're nervous, it trips it.
There's so many methods to fake them as well.
Oh, they're so easy to fake.
They're not reliable evidence at all. I'm surprised we still technically use them.
They're so flawed, aren't they?
Yeah. But
somebody says polygraph test, and I'm like, take this with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, no. So during questioning of one of those two boys, that didn't go to jail, Morgan claimed, who also had a long history of drug and alcohol misuse, along with blackouts and memory lapses.
Great.
Yeah, he also claimed that he might have killed the victims, but then recanted that statement.
That's a wise move.
Yeah.
That's a wise move.
However, I'd just like to point out, they had all that with those two boys. The three boys that did go to jail.
Not a thing.
Fuck all.
Not a
Fuck all.
Scooby snack.
That, like, I literally just said, I might have killed them, actually. Damien's all like, you're like, no, no.
I didn't touch him.
No. And then they're like, oh, it's definitely the one that's just outright said, no, not I might have.
Baffled.
Oh, it hurts my brain, this case. It really does.
I feel like I'm chasing my tail here. I don't know which way is up.
You know, the more you look into it, the stupider it gets. So,
you'd be amazed how many cases that applies to.
Yeah. Another suspect.
Oh, another one. Oh,
another
incredible.
One. Surprisingly, it was a man who was never found.
Oh my god.
Because the police are incompetent.
It's fair.
So, and this bit stresses me out as well, because it was mostly due to the fact that the police are shit. That this man was never found, and the reasoning for all of this bit in a minute, there's no explanation.
Okay.
So a black male was, he appeared in one of the local town's cafes.
Okay.
And according to, so obviously the person rang the police and was like, there's a bit of a dodgy guy here.
Why? Because he's black in Arkansas?
Well, maybe also that. That's probably the main thing that tipped him off.
Like, what?
But apparently he stumbled in there on the day that they went missing, in the evening, around the same time they went missing.
Okay, well, you know what? Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah,
and
fair.
it was quite close, about a mile, to where the bodies were found.
Yeah, no, I definitely would have called that in as well.
He also seemed mentally disorientated. So he went inside. Obviously, he was inside the restaurant.
Yeah.
He went, just avoided everyone, didn't speak to anyone. Just went straight to the restrooms. Went in the wrong ones, so he went in the ladies.
Love it.
He was also bleeding. And he had basically leant on, like, the bathroom walls. So the person at the restaurant's like, bit dodgy, you might want to get here. The police were like, we'll get there when we get there. It's a small town.
What were they doing? What was so
Probably
important?
drinking down at the pub or some shit. I don't know.
Hilariously, restaurants and pubs in small towns tend to be next to each other on the main street, so they were literally over the road.
They literally took their damn time, because by the time they got there,
he was gone.
Man has gone.
Man was never seen again.
Man was never seen again. No reports.
Imagine being that man. Imagine being that man. Right now I'm being like, oh yeah, I remember that day.
That man had mud on his shoes, and you remember they were found at an area with a muddy ditch in a canal. I'm just saying, this is not the person that ended up killing the boys, but
there's a lot of evidence right there.
It's still very suspicious. And like, what was he doing? How did he become bleeding? The police,
I'm baffled,
didn't turn up like the next day.
Wait, what? Wait, what?
Yeah. So the dodgy guy, we'll come soon.
12 hours later.
They did say they'd be here soon, but like, I can see the police station. There's no one in there.
The lights are off and nobody's home.
Fucking just passed out in the fucking like bar or some shit. So they didn't go.
So the next day.
So obviously the man was gone.
Clearly.
Oh, it's so stupid. So basically, the police came round finally. Jesus Christ. The man apparently wore a blue cast type of brace on his arm that apparently had white Velcro on it. Don't know why it was important. It was never mentioned again. But they were like, the police were like, oh yeah, that would have made it difficult to tie up someone and murder 3 young boys. It's a bit random. It's Velcro, could have just taken it off.
It sounds like a wrist splint, like a sprained wrist, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because they're blue.
But maybe he fucking fell down. I don't fucking know. Just interview the man. Becky.
Don't do it to me.
So, the person that phoned them...
Oh, she's going to do it to me anyway.
No. They gave the officers a pair of sunglasses that
the
they
man
thought
had
the
left
man
behind.
had worn, yeah. Detectives also took blood samples from the walls and the tiles, because his blood was still on there. They lost all the evidence to do with the black man. All of it.
What did they do? Did they sneeze and drop it down a drain?
Know. But that's a common thing in this case. They just lose the evidence.
Can you imagine that? So you had evidence on this individual, correct? Yes. What happened to it? We lost it. You lost that as well?
Yeah. They lost just like everything in this case. It's so stupid. Right. So they just lost everything.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Though they did find a hair.
Did they lose that too?
From the black male. Oh no. The black hair was found from a sheet wrapped around one of the victims. We will never get the answers to that, Becky, and that haunts me deeply.
So black hair.
I mean, I'm not saying it's from the black man.
Was found.
Yeah.
On the body, on the blanket
sheet.
The sheet.
Yeah.
That the bodies were found in.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, they probably also lost that, let's be real. They probably also lost that hair. I don't fucking know.
That hair no longer exists.
None of that ever mentioned ever again in the game.
Incredible.
Oh, it's great.
It's incredible.
It's great. It's just impressive to be this dumb.
Like the general level of incompetence on display here is profound.
I know, and we've only just started this.
Oh god.
So the police officers, and you know it's gonna be bad as soon as I now mention the police.
Oh, here we go.
They got together. So James and unfortunately newbie who found the bodies, Steve's gone downhill. He's been hanging with the older ones too much. They came together and they were like, let's think about this murder. I think it has cult overtones.
What?
That's my thinking.
What?
Obviously it's a cult. Or they're like sacrifices. Definitely. You're absolutely fucking right. That's what it is.
Someone's been watching too much Agatha Christie.
Jesus Christ. So, that's when they were like, there is a goth in town.
What?
He could be in a cult. He looks like he might do some sacrificing.
But you know what the hilarious thing is? Karen, the leader of the local church, is probably more likely to be a member of the cult and sacrificing 8-year-old boys.
Jesus, tell me about it. So, it was known that Damien was into like that kind of thing. Like just occultism, but you know what?
Was he actually into that kind of thing, or did he just look like he should be into that kind of thing?
I'm into like cults and shit. I ain't gonna murder 3 boys.
I'm very glad to know that.
Well, honestly, yeah. Oh, this case makes me so mad. They also felt that he was just capable of murdering 3 children. Just from like looking at him. They were like, you know what, that guy would absolutely murder someone. You're going to see the photos of these guys when they arrested them at the end. No, they don't. They just look like teenagers. It gives me so much stress.
I am prepared.
So, the police then finally took Damien in and interviewed him on May 7th, so 2 days after they were reported missing.
Shit for Damien just going to go downhill quick.
Yeah, it really does. So they do a polygraph on him as well.
Oh, reliable.
Yeah. He obviously denied everything. The polygraph examiner claimed that his charts indicated deception. However, no one ever saw these charts. So.
I love that for us.
Not so much for him, because, he was still used in the trial to be like, oh, they were definitely deceptive, but doesn't
provide me evidence. We cannot. That is a breach of client rights.
The evidence is that I told you.
That's the evidence is that I say it was.
I said so. On May 9th, during a... Oh my god, we're back. Oh Lord. I am so sorry for that break.
We had a slight interlude. We'd like to welcome to the family, just a quick interlude, Sid the Snail into the family. He's a good bean. He's a new arrival, so we'll give you an update on Sid.
You can blame my brother.
Next episode. That was the incredibly important phone call that just interrupted us 50 minutes into this episode.
Yeah. I've lost all memory of where we were up to.
But, exactly, yeah.
Right, anyway, back to the case. Okay, so, yeah, we were talking about how shit the police are. Right?
Yes, always a good one.
So they did polygraph. Had no, actual proof of that, but, yeah. So, on May 9th, Eccles, Damien, had a formal interview by one of the detectives.
Okay.
Damien mentioned in the interviews that he knew that one of the victims had wounds to his genitals.
Okay.
The law, the law.
We love the law.
I hate the law.
That was sarcasm.
Yeah. They viewed the knowledge as incriminating.
Ah, yes.
After a month had passed with no progress to the case, probably because they just kept losing everything, honestly.
That's what happens when you lose shit.
Yeah. When you're a policeman in that town, anyway. They then were like, well, you know what? I still think Damien did it. So they just focused everything on him.
Nice.
Yeah. So they interrogated him more frequently than anyone else ever involved in the case.
Love that for him.
Yeah. Although, when asked about why they were, focusing on him, they claimed that he wasn't a suspect. Just a source of information.
On what?
I don't know. They're dumb.
To source information, one has to have experienced something.
Have information.
Exactly. Which means they're bullshitting.
I know. So, June 3rd.
God almighty.
The police interrogated the youngest of the three.
The 16-year-old. Jesse. Yeah.
Despite his... he had an IQ of 72.
Okay.
Not sure if that's good or not.
Not great.
Not great. Obviously, he was a minor. He was questioned alone.
Well, that's a bit fruity.
Yeah, that sounds about right for this area. His parents were not present during the interrogation.
I love that for him.
He was... The parents actually... They gave the permission for something, but they did not give the police permission to question him or question him alone.
Yeah.
So they didn't find out until after he got back.
Ah, and by then the damage had already been done.
He was questioned for roughly 12 hours straight.
Well, that's not legal.
Yeah. Only 2 segments of the interview, totaling 46 minutes, were recorded.
Wow.
Not even an hour of 12.
Incredible.
Yeah.
How does that work?
So, Miss Kelly, the kid, he confessed during one of those 2 segments.
Oh, did he now?
Yeah.
Huh.
But, straight away afterwards, recanted it, saying that, the police were intimidating him.
Well, I mean, I do understand that he's a 16-year-old boy, although probably 2 burly, angry policemen.
Yeah. And he said it was intimidation, coercion, fatigue, because obviously 12 hours, and veiled threats from the police that made him just say that he did it.
They just wanted it to finish.
And they also made him imply the other 2 friends.
Ah.
Yeah.
So all of this case hinges on the intimidation and veiled threats on a 16-year-old boy with no representation.
Pretty much, yeah. The police just really hated these teenagers. Like, really hated them.
Wow.
But so did the whole town, so...
I don't get it.
No, I don't.
I don't get
it. Stupid. He also said that he was scared of the police during the confession.
Well, that's understandable.
Eventually, he was informed of his Miranda rights.
I like that.
Yeah. Although he claimed that he didn't understand them.
Okay.
Due to his IQ.
And the fact that he's 16, Miranda rights aren't really something that you're introduced to until later in life.
In 1996, the Arkansas... the court...
Say it.
No.
Arkansas. Just with me, just once, and I'll leave you alone. Arkansas,
right.
Yes!
The court ruled that his confession was voluntary.
Oh, of course they did.
And that he did in fact understand his Miranda rights.
Of course, obviously.
And its consequences. So,
they
were a bit fucked. So, there was this other woman that was involved. She's just there for the drama, honestly. So, she's called Vicky.
She sounds like she's just there for the drama.
She does. Sorry to any Vickies listening, but...
I'd also like to apologise for any Karens listening. We have made a few Karen references.
No, I mean, they understand they're Karens. So Vicky was new in town.
Of course she was.
Yeah. And apparently she'd play an important role in the investigation. She did make a statement a few times, but eventually as the years passed, she recanted it for the same sort of reasons. Coercion from the police, you know.
Okay.
So June 1st, 1993, she agreed to police suggestions. The police being like, "Oh, are you sure it wasn't this?"
A nice leading question there.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so she agreed with them that they were like, maybe you want to like put a hidden microphone on yourself and go talk to Damien. So she was like, okay, I guess.
Because that's not suspicious at all.
Yeah. Damien made no incriminating statements the entire time. And
because there was no incriminating behaviour the entire time.
So you know what the police said to that?
What?
They tried to say that the audio recording was inaudible. Because he didn't say anything suspicious.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's so stupid.
That's incredible.
Oh, they're so petty. But she claims it was audible. Obviously, we know that.
We know it's audible because it's very rare of police recordings not at least somewhat audible.
The next day,
oh god,
she told the police that about 2 weeks after the murders were committed, she, Damien, and Miss Kelly, one of the other boys, attended a Wiccan meeting in Terrell, Arkansas.
Hey!
She claimed that at the meeting, a drunken Damien openly bragged about killing the 3 boys.
Seriously?
She later claimed that she implicated the boys to avoid facing her own criminal charges, and to obtain the reward for the discovery of the murderers. At least she was honest. Eventually.
I mean, I have a slight grudging respect for the entrepreneurialism shown by Miss Vicky here.
One way to do it.
Because that really is 3 birds.
Yes.
With 1 stone.
Not even 1. So does that mean 3 separate payments, or just... She didn't get any of the money, I'm just saying. It's quite pointless. So, also, during one of the times she went to the police station...
Yeah.
Oh, You're not even ready. You're not even ready.
Okay.
The employees, the police officers, during the investigation, had photographs of the 3 boys, not victims, the people they put in jail, on the wall, and were using them as dart targets. Yeah. I wish I was shitting you. I wish I was. I'm not. I'm dead serious.
Only in America!
Target practice, mate. Target
Only
practice.
in America.
I can't believe that. I knew. Yeah, I can.
I can
Yes,
quite
I
easily
can
believe.
In this case. Jesus. So, into like the court case and things.
Okay.
Obviously the youngest was he got tried separately.
Okay.
Because he was
a child, yes.
A minor. Whereas Eccles, Damien, and Baldwin were tried together in 1994.
As adults, I'm presuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All three pled not guilty.
Understandable.
Probably because they weren't guilty.
Probably because they weren't guilty, yeah.
So during Miss Kelly's trial, the under 16, the 16-year-old, a man called Richard, who was an expert on false confessions and police coercion.
Oh no.
And he was a professor of sociology. Wow. He testified that the brief recording of his interrogation was a classic example of police coercion. So he actually sided with him. However, people have also stated that the boys' various confessions were inconsistent with each other. So the boy didn't even know what he was actually
saying,
fucking confessing to.
Love it.
So he didn't know the particulars of the crime scene or the murder victims, including, and apparently the boy said this during one of the confessions, that he saw Damien rape one of the boys. And he only said that because the police were still at this point sure that the boys had been raped, even though they had not.
So the police were so solid on the fact that the boys had been raped that they forced this kid to say that he had witnessed them being raped, and yet we know scientifically that there's nothing like that occurred.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And they used it in his trial.
It's literally evidence of incompetence, and they're somehow managing to make it evidence.
So the police also tried to give, reasons for why they think rape was, on the table, and it was because their anuses were dilated. However, that's not forensic evidence, because, like I said, there's no evidence that they had been raped. Dilation of the anus is a normal post-mortem condition.
And I'd just like to throw into
and
there...
they were found in water.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Just like to throw in there, if your body goes through a stressor directly before you die, it contracts.
It does, yeah. And it does after death as well.
And it reappears after death. It's like when people are holding on to things in their hands before they die, and their hands return to that grasping position.
Yeah. After
death, when they go through rigor mortis.
Yeah. I know.
And yet these guys are being like, oh, it's loose. What does that even mean?
Rape. Clearly.
Oh god, the white, middle-aged, heterosexual male strikes again.
You just know these are white men. You just know they
You just know they're white men. They're all between the ages of 20 and 50. I guarantee you the sheriff might be older than that.
Yeah.
And they are all heterosexual males.
Avid drinkers,
Avid drinkers.
You fucking know.
Avid drinkers with a dog called Pete, a white picket fence, a wife and 2.5 kids, and a
Karen for a wife. Karen. Yeah.
Or a Vicky, evidently.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh no, she was new in town.
Maybe Steve got there later.
Oh God, help us all. So, on February the 5th, 1994, Miss Kelly, the minor, was convicted by a jury of 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. The only things they had against this boy was his apparent confession.
But that's the problem with juries. Especially in small towns. Juries come from the small towns.
Exactly. The sentencing is harsh in this case also. He obviously didn't get tried as an adult, so just keep that in mind. He got life plus 40 years in prison.
Life plus 40?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
That kid was never seeing the light of day again.
No. 3 weeks later, the adult case starts.
Okay.
God help them.
God help Damien.
Yeah, Damien and Baldwin went on trial together. The prosecution accused the 3 men of committing a satanic murder. Still don't know where the evidence for that is.
When did Satan pop his ugly head up?
All because the 2 officers at the beginning were like, oh, this feels a bit culty.
And the other officer was like, I bet it was that Damien kid.
Yeah, that is the only evidence. That's not
evidence!
Do you see why this is the most frustrating case of all time?
It's not the only, it's the only evidence. It's not even evidence.
It's not. So they were like, oh, you're into Satanism. You did murders. Christ. So the prosecution called a man called Dale up. To the Dale. Who was a graduate of the unaccredited university as an expert in the occult.
Incredible.
To testify that the murders were in fact a satanic ritual.
Did Dale in fact say they were?
He did say they were.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Therefore, on March 19th, the same year, Damien and Baldwin were found guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder.
Incredible.
The court sentenced Damien Nichols to death. And Baldwin to life in prison.
So they're both fucked, really, aren't they?
They're all fucked.
They're all fucked, yeah.
And there was not a shred of evidence.
You want to explain to me?
Do you want to
explain to me how the minor got life plus 40 years?
I was thinking that.
And then Baldwin only gets life?
I think it might be because the minor made the confession, whereas Baldwin's never said anything.
I love the fact that we're looking at this like I'm trying to make it make sense.
Yeah, I know. And also the minor implicated Damien a lot more, just because he was like the leader of the 3 of them. And obviously the police were very focused on Damien, so...
The kid was just an idiot.
Yeah.
And was completely being intimidated.
But he was also a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they were basically
Wild.
all 3 fucked.
Yeah.
So, at the trial, the defense team did argue that news articles, so information about the case, even the really graphic stuff that shouldn't have been leaked.
Like the genitalia information?
Yep, the police like to talk. Obviously, because they can't do anything.
Yeah. Talking's all they've got, honey.
That was most likely the source of where Damien got the genital mutilation information.
Because, it's common information.
And Damien also said that his knowledge was limited to what was on TV at the time, which would have been everything about the case. So,
clearly, with chatty police officers.
The defense team objected when the prosecution attempted to question Eccles about his past violent behaviours, but they were overruled.
Nice.
Every time they tried to object.
Nice. Lovely flaw in the system we're seeing here.
Yeah. So there had been widespread criticism of how the police obviously handled the crime scene.
Mm-hmm. Or mishandled.
Which, absolutely, yeah. Miss Kelly, so the minor, their former attorney, Dan. Nice. Move on. He cites multiple substantial police errors at the crime scene itself, characterizing it as literally trampled, especially the creek bed. The bodies, he said, had been removed from the water before the coroner even arrived to examine the scene and determine the state of rigor mortis, which allowed the bodies to decay on the creek bank and to be exposed to sunlight and insects. So they left the bodies out in the open for ages. The police
almighty.
did not even phone the coroner until 2 hours after the discovery of the floating shoe, meaning that the coroner was really late getting there.
Yeah.
Officers failed to drain the creek in a timely manner and secure possible evidence in the water.
So that was all sucked away and cast off downstream?
Yeah. The same guy, he calls the coroner's investigation extremely substandard, there was a small amount of blood found at the scene. They never tested it. The small local police force were quite obvious they were overwhelmed by the crime, because that kind of thing just didn't really happen in that area.
Yeah.
They were offered some help from the Arkansas State Police.
Yeah.
They refused it.
They declined, obviously. Pissing contests.
Yeah. They thought they already had the person, so...
They were all like, problem solved.
Yeah. Some of the physical evidence was stored in paper bags obtained from a supermarket.
I love that.
Yeah.
Clean.
With the supermarket's name still on the bags, rather than in containers of known and controlled origin.
So, contamination right off the bat there.
So, in 2007, Damien petitioned...
for a mistrial?
For a retrial.
A retrial, okay.
Yeah, based on a statute that was permitting post-conviction testing of DNA evidence due to,
technological advancements.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Which, obviously, because by that time it had almost been... It's been how many? 1994. It was in 2007, 6, over 10 years.
Over 13 years.
Jesus.
13 years.
So, and that would also help him be exonerated for those that were wrongfully convicted. However, the original trial judge was still up and about.
Oh.
Yeah, David. And he was like, no. So, he didn't get that granted.
What a dickhead.
Yeah. So in 1993...
David, you should be judging yourself right now.
Get rid of that guy. So we're going to go back in time to 1993.
Okay.
Which was, I think, the year the boys were killed.
Okay.
John Byers, the adoptive father of Christopher, while filming a documentary about the case, gave the cameraman a knife. And it was a folding hunting knife.
Okay.
And when the film crew got back to where they're from, they found that there was blood on the knife. So...
No, he didn't.
The people were like, ooh, probably should return that to the police to be looked at. The knife was never received at the West Memphis Police Department until a year later.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the US Postal Service is shit, but that's saying something.
There's clearly something going on.
Yeah.
The same man, Christopher's adoptive dad, he claimed, when questioned about it, he claimed the knife had never been used. However, when they were like, what about this blood though? He was like, oh, actually, I did use it once.
It's a hunting knife.
To cut deer meat.
Yeah, obviously. Gonna go with the hunting excuse.
However...
Blood was human.
The blood was tested, and it actually matched both his and the 8-year-old Christopher's blood. And then he was like, oh, I have no idea how that blood got on the knife. That's wild.
You're not telling me.
I'm not telling you anything, babe. So he got interrogated. They suggested to the man that maybe you left it out accidentally. And he was like, oh shit, yeah, no, you're right.
These people are dumb!
And then he also later stated, maybe he even cut his thumb. There's so many reasons for the blood. I can't keep track.
There's so many maybes. There's so many possibilities.
He may have, maybe. So the 3 that are in jail, even submitted imprints of their teeth. Apparently there were bite marks on some of the bodies.
Okay.
They were compared to the bite mark on just Steve Branch's forehead.
Mm-hmm.
That had not been mentioned in the original autopsy or trial. None of them matched.
Okay.
Obviously. However, John Byers, Christopher's adopted father, makes a comeback. Actually had his teeth removed in 1997 after the first trial, but before an imprint could be made.
All of his teeth removed?
All of them. All of them.
What in the name of sweet Mary, Mother of Jesus, would you need every single tooth in your mouth removed? Unless you're out trying to hide something.
Oh, he was asked about it.
Of course.
And he was just like, yeah, it's for reasons that, like, aren't really relatable, like cosmetic reasons.
Every tooth?
Every tooth.
They bought that?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, God.
So an expert also examined the autopsy photos and noticed that he thought he might have seen the imprint of a belt buckle on Christopher's body. His adopted dad was like, I did spank him that night before the boys disappeared. That's all that was said about that. So, we're at 2007 now, babe.
Okay. We've gone back to the future again. Flashback over.
Oh, yeah. DNA from the crime scene was finally, well, what they had left anyway, from losing everything, was finally retested.
Okay.
None of the DNA, again, matched any of the 3 boys that were in prison.
Incredible.
Yeah,
it's
shocking.
Almost like there's no evidence.
Yeah. However,
tell me.
A hair that was consistent with one of the boys' stepfathers, Steve's this time, Terry Hobbs, was found tied into the knots that was used to bind one of the victims.
Was it the stepfathers?
And I feel like it's all like joined together.
Yeah, band together to murder their children.
Terry's wife also revealed very telling information. She said, and this obviously she said this around 2007. She said that, to quote,
I love a quote.
She found in Terry's nightstand a knife that Steve carried with him constantly. Steve is the child.
Yes, I know Steve is the child.
And which I believed was with him when he died. It was a pocket knife that my father had given to Stevie, and Stevie loved that knife. I had been shocked that the police did not find it with Stevie when they found his body.
Now she knows.
I always assumed that my son's murderer would have taken the knife during the crime. I could not believe it was in Terry's things.
I'm sorry, but Chris's dad, what's Chris's dad's name?
Oh, fuck.
I don't think fuck is his name.
Wait. John.
I'm sorry, John and Terry are
John
sus
and
as
Terry,
fuck.
They are really, yeah. She also goes on to say, because her and her sister were involved in finding the knife and realizing that Terry was also a bit sus. They said that, also Terry, she asked him about the knife, and he had never told her in the entire time since the boy had been dead that he had the knife.
Sus?
Yeah. They also saw Terry wash clothes, bed linens, and curtains from Stevie's room at odd times around the time of the murders. As well. Just in the middle of the night. Just washing everything in Stevie's room for some reason. Straight away after the murders. It's pretty obvious who killed the boys here. Oh. I feel like we're doing a better job than the fucking police in this case.
Honey, a 10-year-old could do a better job than those police officers, let's be honest.
So, we're in 2008 now.
Oh, we're going
July.
further. Okay.
And the guys are still in prison.
Yep, I see that.
It's revealed to that the jury foreman on the original trial, well, their only trial, had discussed the case with attorneys prior to the beginning of the deliberations. He was accused of also advocating for the guilt of the 3 of them and sharing knowledge of inadmissible evidence as well. So, 2007, later in the year, October 29th, Papers were filed in federal court by Damien's defense lawyers seeking a retrial again, or his immediate release from prison.
They're playing hardball now. Understandable.
Yeah. The filing cited DNA evidence linking to the stepfathers to the crime scene, and the new statements from Hobbs' now ex-wife.
Yes.
Good on her for divorce.
Good for her, yeah.
And also in the new testimony, expert testimony, that the supposed knife marks on the victims, including the injuries to the genitals, were in fact the result of animals, not a human. And on September 10th, 2008, so a year later, the court judge denied the request again and said that the DNA tests were inconclusive.
Yeah. You know what? 40 minutes ago, their incompetence was laughing. It was just laughable. Now it's just getting
sad.
Now it's just really sad.
Yeah. So.
Because, like, shit, there's so much evidence.
Yeah. And they're still refusing to let these boys out of jail. And they've already served over 20 years now at this point, easily. So, we finally get to 2011. They finally get released. So it's been, what, over 25 years at least? 1993 or 4.
27 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That there was no evidence.
27 years in prison without a single shred of evidence.
Yeah. Just because your town didn't like you.
I'd ditch that town if I were you, lads.
Honestly. So, August 19th, 2011, the boys were finally released from prison as part of a plea deal.
Plea deal?
Yeah.
What? What plea deal?
They did order a new trial. But basically, as part of this plea deal,
they had to leave it alone.
Pretty much, yeah. It was, they got a very, like, small new trial, but they still had to say they were guilty, pretty much of a lesser charge, if they wanted to be ever released from prison, or else they'd never get out. So obviously they said it, but obviously they're still like, well, we still don't do it, but yeah, fine, we just want to get out. And they'd served long enough in prison as well by that point as well. So a mother of a witness who testified in the original trial questioned her daughter's truthfulness, so she ended up siding with them, the boys. The state crime lab employee who collected the fibre evidence at the 3 boys who were in jail's home had died, so no one cares.
Yeah.
And as part of the plea deal, which is bullshit, the 3 men are not able to ever pursue civil action or any money against the state for wrongful imprisonment. Ever. Because they're still deemed as guilty.
Guilty because they said...
The kids, or let's say, all 3 kids' parents of the kids that died now all completely believe that the 3 boys who went to jail are innocent. Yeah. Even though most of them really believe they did the crime, like, led the sort of hate at the beginning. Most of them don't believe that now. So a former FBI agent called John, who is a current criminal profiler, said the murders were more indicative of a single murderer intent on degrading and punishing the victims.
Like a father.
Like a father. Rather than a trio of unsophisticated teenagers. He also said that he believed the perpetrator had a violent history and was familiar with the victims.
Like a father.
Like a father. And the general area. No evidence of the murders were linked to satanic rituals of any kind.
No.
And also that the post-mortem marks were animals. He said that the victims had died from a combination of blunt force trauma and drowning. And he believed it was a crime that was driven by personal cause.
Like a father.
Like a father. Not anything random or opportunistic.
No.
So, little update on how they're doing.
Okay.
Because we're at the end of it now.
We need that, yeah.
So, since his release, Miss Kelly, who was the minor at the time, has become engaged to his high school girlfriend.
Aww.
And he has enrolled in a community college to train as an auto mechanic.
Yes.
Since his release, Baldwin has moved to Seattle to live with his friends.
Fucking fair, man.
He's in a relationship with a woman who befriended him while he was in prison.
Nice.
And he has stated that he has plans on enrolling into college to become a lawyer to help those wrongfully convicted.
Yes, boy.
And he's also said that in an interview with Piers Morgan in 2011 that he's currently working at a construction company and was learning how to drive.
Yes.
Damien, like I said, was on death row. So for over 25 years, was in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day.
Jesus. And he's still sane?
And he's still sane.
It's incredible.
Yeah, shit. From 1994 to 2011.
Jesus Christ.
And obviously he then also wasn't allowed any kind of interaction with any other inmates or guards.
Or the outside world.
Yeah, no, so they're also not allowed phone calls or anything like that.
No.
So
he would have been just him and his head for 23 hours a day for 25 years.
For no evidence.
God almighty.
Yeah. In prison in 1999, he actually married a woman called Laurie Davis. So at least that's nice.
Oh.
He moved to New York City after his release, but now lives in Salem with his wife, same woman.
Nice.
He said he would like to have a career in writing and visual arts. He has actually published a lot of stuff. Books, art pieces.
Good for him.
Songs. Like I said, he's good friends with Johnny Depp.
Good boy.
Yeah. So, I do have some pictures.
Okay.
If you'd like to see them.
They're not.
So,
boys in boxes and mutilated teenage girls.
No. These are the 3 boys, the 3 victims.
Okay. Oh my god, they're adorable.
Yeah. These are the 3 teenagers.
Okay.
Damon included when they got arrested.
Okay, alright. Oh dear god.
Look at that hairdo.
Look at that mullet.
That's Damien.
That's Jesse the minor and then Baldwin.
They just look like normal teenagers.
They do look like just complete. They don't even look goth.
No, I know. You were expecting like a really hardcore emo. No.
I was expecting like a mohawk or something like that.
Damien has black hair. That's about it. That's about it.
That's incredible.
And this is them quite recently. It's Damien.
Oh yeah, you can tell. The one on the right is the minor. Jesse. That's the tall one, and then that's the short one.
I thought it was the other way around.
You can look at that skinny, lanky twink.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, fair. Alright, I'll give you that. I do kind of miss they got rid of the hair, though.
Well, I mean, fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Dear
that
God.
was the case of the Robin Hood Hill murder.
But did they find out who did it?
No one was ever formally convicted. I think the stepfathers died before they could.
May you burn in hell.
Who killed the boys?
You have a lot of options for who killed.
I know.
It's alarming. Thank God the FBI doesn't have access to your search history.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm probably on a list somewhere.
I mean, if you're not on a list, I'd be...
Okay, that was just about his confession. Who's the real killer?
We're just doing a little quick Google.
Yeah, Mr. Bojangles is the black guy in...
Mr. Bojangles is the black guy.
Because the Bojangles is the name of the place that he was.
Okay.
Missing evidence, obviously a real killer. Who was the real killer? I mean, it's absolutely his stepfathers. It's absolutely... Let's have a look.
Quick Googling occurring
Yeah,
here.
Don't mind us.
Speed reading. Well-
we're just saying if anyone was actually convicted.
Beth's
Properly.
speed reading, but I'm a slow reader, so we don't ask me to speed read anything.
Okay, what's about? Right.
There's Damien.
Yeah.
Clarification, Damien is in fact innocent. We're just commenting on a picture we saw.
Yeah. It's Damien again.
Man's got a cool tattoo on his neck, though.
That's the woman he married in prison.
I can see why he's friends with Johnny Depp. They have a vibe.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic beard, a big old black beanie, and a neck tattoo going on there. I understand why he's friends with Johnny Depp.
Yeah. No further arrests have ever been made in the murder of the 3 boys. The stepfathers have just consistently denied having anything to do with it,
Nice.
even though there is a shit ton of evidence. He actually... Oh, apparently he's still up and about. Hobbs. Is that Terry?
Terry Hobbs. The one with the knife.
Terry fucking said in... What? Fucking
2019.
I still believe in my heart that Jesse, Jason, and Damien are responsible for what happened to our children. Well, you would say that if you did it,
Wouldn't you? A
Oh
cold-blooded
my God.
murderer.
Yeah. So unfortunately, no justice for the 3 little boys who were killed has ever been.
Or for the 3 older boys who were put in
yeah.
prison.
Yeah. There's just no justice here. The
No.
police were absolutely... I can't even say they're a mess. They're just...
Morons.
There's no words.
Complete morons. Words have not yet entered the English dictionary to describe that.
But this was the case that made me be like, holy shit, what the fuck? I have
That's fair.
so many questions.
That's fair, because I was sat there in the first half, I was just sat there laughing at the fact they were that dumb. And then the second half, I was just like, this is just so sad.
But you know what? They're all 3 of the guys. They're
Praise
all
Jesus,
doing
they're out of
well,
prison now.
healthy, you know. But yeah, that was that.
Jobs, plans,
Yep. Married.
whole lives.
Mhm.
Thank God.
Yeah. So guys, that was episode 15.
That was a meaty one to go back to.
It was, yeah. Last one was quite short, so I thought we'd give you a longer one this time. Yeah, I guarantee you're probably feeling the same way we are.
I'm slightly exhausted, I'm not gonna lie. All that incompetence has just made me feel like a slug.
You know what? Whenever we struggle doing uni work, I'm gonna think about those police officers, and I'm gonna feel better about myself.
Yeah? Ever you feel like you're unmotivated or you're not achieving much, just remember
you could be
the
those
police officers from the Robin Hood case. And then you will know that no matter how little you do on a day, you will never be as incompetent as those police officers.
Yeah. And you know what the worst thing is? They probably still, like, lived out their police careers.
Oh, probably. They're probably on a full pension and everything now.
Which is wild.
Yeah. Because I guarantee you, there was absolutely no consequences for those actions.
Oh god, no.
Not one bit.
No. And like I said, they weren't allowed to go through legal routes when they got out of prison, so...
It's wild. It is, it's wild. I don't even know where to start.
No. Yeah. So, join us next time. And,
Is it your pick?
there's one more episode of my pick.
And then it's me picking again.
Yeah.
Unless any of you lovely people come on with a recommendation for us.
Either way, drop us a message, you know how to reach us.
Definitely.
And that is everything. That was BB True Crime.
I am Becky, and that is Beth. And I'm gonna go to sleep.
And I'm going to go be depressed thinking about this case, so...
Excellent. Productive evenings.
Yes.
Take care of yourself, and we will see you on our next episode, number 17.
16.
You said this one was 16.
Oh, yeah, shit, no, you're right. Sorry, 17. It's been a long night, okay? A long day.
Stop the recording before you say anything else.
Alright, peace out, lads.
Peace out, guys.